Okay, and we're live. So, what I always do before I begin is I make sure that the live is actually working by checking on my phone here. So yep, looks like we're good to go. So, what I want to start off with, I was kind of trying to get these thoughts out of my head and just, I work a lot. So anyway, just getting these thoughts out. And I was trying to do a lot of videos. And besides like the audio issues that are under construction constantly, as I'm learning to do this, I also found out that my YouTube videos are when I try to stream there and record it and then post it, it's like horrible audio. So all the videos I did there, I got to redo um, as well. And so anything here, I will put it there. I know which keeps videos for like a couple days at a time or so. But anyway, here I am back. Was under the weather and didn't really feel like I could talk through a whole bunch of these kind of rabbit holes. Now, I don't really want to be stuck too much on like using the word conspiracy theory or really making my channel just about that because I really want to, in my past videos say, like what's the truth of the world, like what's the natural order of the world, what's the truth of the world, right? And we can pervert the truth all we want, we can change language all we want, but it doesn't really help us as a society in the long run. So Um, anyway, this is something that really bothers me, so I want to start with this, right? So I was telling people, a lot of my friends, like, I'm more like conservative. More people would say like I'm more right leaning. Of course, I have like it's kind of like a grab bag of different kind of beliefs that I have about things. Because really, I do want people to be genuinely happy at all times and live a great life and have great pay and have kids. Um, I want everybody to be great, have a life of no depression, things like that. Of course, I know the world's not perfect, so here we are, right? Um, but I have a lot of friends who, I'm really big into conspiracies, of course, so they would come to me and ask me, okay, hey Greg, what's new conspiracies? What have you heard? And after talking with them about it for a while, then they say, okay, where do you hear this stuff? And I say, well, hold on. I said, you got to be careful because one of the things I really dislike about social media, um, and I feel like free speech is ultimate. I feel like it's ultimate. Let me start there. I don't like censorship whatsoever. But the problem is that it takes a lot of time to vet some of these things you hear online, and sometimes you don't have that time to do that. So what happens is you scroll through Facebook, you scroll through Twitter, you might be on Instagram. I don't know who goes to Instagram for news. It's really weird to me. I've saw pictures as like the place where chicks post videos of themselves or pictures of themselves. You know what I mean? For like like OnlyFans light or something. I've never really focused on it, but anyway, I heard people go to Instagram for news and things. But as you scroll through, you might read something, you see a clip like this, right here. Now, being that I said that I'm more right leaning, then you would think I would jump all over this, right? It says, uh, Yuval Harari, Klaus Schwab's right-hand man, has called for so-called conspiracy theorists to be banned from the internet because of their dangerous belief that a global clique of elites controls the world. Then it goes, the whole face. What an odd thing for the elites at the WEF to say. So the World Economic Forum, they say some really shady shit. Kind of, it's kind of. I don't want to get too deep. I mean, we can go crazy on this, right? But I guess I'll clip some of this off maybe. But the WEF, they say things that eventually come true, and they'll like say things that then get pushed by governments and things like that, and um, you see the world transform to like their opinions, right? So now there's two different ways to look at that. One of them is conspiracy theory that control the world, and the other way is that maybe they just are really influential, or maybe their way is always the right way all the time, no matter what. And they're psychics, maybe they have magic globes. That's another way to look at it. They can see the future. Um, they're also all really rich. Okay, so a lot of people like mentioned Klaus Schwab. Um, I don't know if this guy specifically is rich. See, the thing is that I don't dig into this piece as much. So, but really, what I'm getting into here, so I don't want to talk all these pieces that are in my head of these people because this guy was just on Lex Fridman's uh, YouTube channel. I call it a podcast, but I don't know if it's really on a podcast or not. But he's got a YouTube video where he interviews this gentleman, And this is where this clip comes from. But here's the problem: it says um, this clip from a paper with no link at all says, "Professor, conspiracy theorists must be eliminated." And I'm sorry, let me go to that window. It tells you what date it's on, which is what helped me find out that it was from. They're referring to uh, his quotes from this Lex Fridman video, right? So I can link it in the description of my YouTube when I get there. And then he has the he put the source of the article, but the article then it tells you to go watch this. Anyway, you see people are like, "Oh, that's why guillotines were invented. Language to eliminate conspiracy theorists is a conspiracy. Put this man down." So I don't doubt. Here's the thing: there's two sides here. I don't doubt that they want conspiracy theorists gone. I keep hearing all these people on the left leaning people when they have political arguments. I like to listen to that, like while I'm at work and stuff, and I'll hear them or I'll watch them sometimes on the video on YouTube. Like they'll always say like conspiracy theories never come true, and I think, well, what are they talking about? And if they're being real specific about it, then they don't come true the exact way like we would think they do. But to me, conspiracy theory is like pattern recognition, and it usually just comes true. It's like being smart about things, and I don't have people tell me what's going to happen in the world. Sometimes I just see the pattern and go, "Oh, I wonder if that's going to happen." And then guess what? It happens. Okay, so I was at a company that when COVID hit really hard, there were like three. I don't want to get too specific here because I don't want to like get any company thing mad at me. But look, can't trust me. But I there were like three changes to my job status, kind of like my work group, okay, three major changes. And each change over time, I said, oh man, there's going to be layoffs because we can't sustain business if you change three of these factors together at the same time. Because how do you make money? Like I'm doing the math in my head and the math ain't math. And I'm like, okay, how do we do this? What happens with this? What happens with this? You start asking all these questions, and you're like, hey, one of the possible outcomes, are layoffs. And then, sure enough, there's layoffs, right? And maybe it's not the month I thought the layoff was in. Maybe it's not that week that I thought it was going to be in. It could have taken extra long time, but it is correct. And the reason why you would call it conspiracy is because I would say it, and only a few people would believe it, and then most people would say, "Well, I asked my boss, and they guaranteed me there was no layoffs coming." Sure, because they don't know. I mean, there's several reasons, but and look, I'm getting down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, but this legitimately happens in my life. You see pattern recognition, you see where things could go, and if you want to say conspiracy theorists are scared, maybe they're scared of inaction, right? Like we're scared of this is the 90% chance that it's going to go this way, and if it goes that way, there's no coming back. Things like that, and then so a lot of conspiracy theorists, so they talk about like, stockpile weapons, stockpile food, and things like that because they're really, I don't know if I would say the word scared, but I guess it's one way to put it. That's why I kind of made the title of this like, "Are theorists really scared?" And so if you're a conspiracy theorist and you see this, then you're diehard on any edge of the map for conspiracies, and you wanna let me know how you feel about it. That'd be great. I would love to hear people's feedback and kind of talk about it. Because like you hear me talk, I'm kind of on that fence line there, right? Like I do believe in a lot of the conspiracy theories, and especially the ones that obviously came true, right? I mean, let me mention them more. There's like the COVID passports. We were like, hey, there's gonna be passports. Everybody's like, oh, there's no passports. No, there's no passports. And then here's the other country, hey, you need passports to do, and they really tried pushing it. Like they had they had it digital, um, and I think freedom of speech, being our main thing in America, is the only thing that really stopped it from happening. I honestly do, because people were getting it out there. They were getting the conspiracy going out there. So you know, I'll get so deep into this right now, real quick. But one of his arguments in the Lex Fridman interview, he says is that people, uh, was it they think that things that are planned by these all-powerful cabal, which is this Twitter tweet is specifically talking about that one part of the interview. The all powerful cabal, they're like, oh, if they're also powerful, you would know it, and they can't be defeated. He kind of has this idea of like he used the word power a lot, and I think that's the wrong way to look at it. It's not power; it's definitely persuasion. It's coercion, propaganda, right? So Oh, my nose still clogged. I'm talking a little too quick for it. To catch up. But yeah, it's propaganda, and so the problem is that I think they do have these plans in place for things, and then based on how acceptable the general population is to it, they pivot. So the more people are like, well, we're not going to do that, they keep pivoting. So here's a prediction right now I'm going to make. Okay, they started whispering about COVID coming back. All right. Now, like I said, I just was under the weather. Immediately, first thing I get asked, do you think you have COVID? And I'm like, I've only been to work and home. Like, what do you mean? And it's so weird. But anyway, yeah, they did the test anyway for get too personal, or whatever. But yeah, I've seen some test results for different people, and it's not COVID, right? But anyway, it's like I had no thought it was COVID. Like when I had COVID, I couldn't. What was it? I couldn't taste or smell. I only had one of those, and that's it. That's it. No headache, no nothing. Just for like 2 days, I couldn't taste or whatever, smell, whatever it was. One or the other. It wasn't both. Um, and I was like, "Oh, this is dumb." What I have right now, which is probably just the general cold or the flu, this is annoying as hell. Okay, this is not being able to breathe out of both nostrils. This is one of them constantly running so bad that I've rubbed my nose raw. Um, this is shitty. Okay, so anyway, so that. Then Anyway, these balls, I think they pivot. Okay, so they think COVID's come back. I've seen a lot of people say, "I'm not masking again." Even people that are diehard, you got all the boosters, you got all the shots. They say they're not going to do the. They say they're not gonna mask it, ever again. Like never again, right? And there's a lot of science behind the masking where it's like, I kind of think of it like a video game. um, Sometimes you could defend masking by being like, if I was in a war zone and these guys were shooting arrows and he gave me a piece of armor to wear that has a 1% chance of blocking just one of the thousands of arrows that'll fly at me, you'll probably put the vest on, right? And then some people be like, no, it's just, I mean, it's a fantasy, idea there though, but you get what I'm saying, right? If you had like, hey, this is like, so in a video game, like, hey, 10% chance to ignore frost damage, you're going to get hit with thousands of bolts of frost damage. But hey, 10% blocking, that ain't bad. So you put it on no matter what, right? So businesses have the right to do what they want anyway. I don't get too far into it, but um, I think back this up here, back to what this should be about. He never actually says conspiracy theorists must be eliminated. So this is a yeah, this is a fake. This is fake. This is just fake post. It's propaganda, absolutely. So even though these people, I do believe they make plans, and I mean, there's been enough things I've heard of, and plus I have books, and I don't have them up here to like flash one in front of you, but I have books from some of these Tavistock Institute, where and they do all these crazy like testing with humans and things, and talk about they treat us like we're like lab rats or whatever, living in the world. And so there is a hierarchy to some people where they look down and say, okay, they're doing this. Gosh, there's too many of them. We need to do this, which was a huge thing before. And you can look this up. And this one I know for sure that they overpopulation, which is one of my last videos, right? Um, we're talking about how populations are not real, but they don't want. It's like for some reason they think they should push that we're overpopulated. So hey, it worked. All these people aren't having kids, et cetera. So hey, they're geniuses because conspiracy theorists said they were pushing for it. They were pushing for it outward and saying, "Oh, we're ruining the climate, yada yada, all these other reasons when I have kids." And then now people aren't having kids, and our replacement rate's below what it needs to be, right? So there you go. That's an example of one that came true. Might not have came true exactly the day or the time or the way anybody said it would, but it did. Okay. So I was thinking about playing the video just in the part because in this guy's podcast he actually puts those little blocks on YouTube where it's like this is where the conspiracy's at. But I just watched it before this because I didn't want to like stumble around too much, right, and get more comfortable mode because I know what's going on here. But let me just get to this first. Though. This pisses me off though because now I don't know if I can trust this poster anymore. Wall Street Silver, who actually does post some really good stuff. But the problem is that the reach that this account has is ridiculous, right? And I'm using new accounts, so I'm not subscribed to or whatever. But I am following. Sorry, I don't know the new X things. Don't subscribe to anybody. This is all free, right? But anyway, yeah, so anyway, it's just like, does he know that this is fake or whatever, or like this was never actually said, and all you had to do was spend, well, no, you had to spend a decent amount of time listening to the interview because I wanted to make sure they didn't say it at all. So it's like 2 hours long, an hour and something, but quite a lengthy interview. And I listened to the entire thing just to hear it, and I think this is a somebody trying to fearmonger, of course, but they're also um, it's just not what do you call it? It's not honesty. It's not integrity. It's them purposefully omitting information or when they're summarizing it. But the problem is that people really believe in this stuff. And if you had proof though, like if I watched that video and it was proof, holy shit, you know, I mean, I'd be freaking out, but it's not. It's not true. It's not what he said. Okay. It's not, he didn't say conspiracy theories had to be banned because they were dangerous. But I get where they sum that up at because I mean, and here's the video, and I have no problem with. I guess I could play it, but the problem is that he uh, he does really say a lot about it, like relating to Nazism. Uh, and I don't even know if I can say that anymore. I probably have to blank that out for YouTube, right? But he's saying that I don't know why he can say it, but anyway, um, yeah, it has to do with uh, Whistler. We'll call him that, right? And he's saying that, oh yeah, fascism came from, it comes from this conspiracy world. And I'm not really sure why, like that, his exact like claim because he keeps going, he goes really deep into like a war, right? Like he's like, well, think about it. If the cabal were so powerful, and mainly he's talking about the cabal, the conspiracy of like one group of people controlling the world. And he's like, if the cabal controlled everything, then how do we lose the war to Iraq? And I'm like, well, pause though. Hold on. Most people didn't support the war in Iraq. All right, it's hugely contentious. Okay, I know it was after not after the Two Towers incident. I don't know if I mean YouTube. God, I hate the censorship. What if people think we're so much better under like more leftist and liberal rule, but we can't say words out loud because it offends some people. I mean, can you even believe that we're living in this time? My God, makes this part so difficult. But anyway, so so we're talking about these buildings being attacked. Um, maybe that's why we went to war or whatever. But he's like, we lost the war, and even though we have all this technology, all this power, I'm like, right, but you can't win a country. You can't win a war. We did it in Vietnam. We didn't learn, right? You cannot go and win against an idealism or a culture. You can't just go in. I mean, unless you wipe it all clean and then start over with your own people and redo the culture. But there's a lot of cultural and like religiously hooked cultural reasons that you can't change the mind of the other countries on like the eastern side of the world. Okay, it's just um, we don't mix. All right, like Christianity, you can't swoop in and then tell them to not do something they've been doing for a while. And this is the part I know I can't talk about um, because I'm sure I just can't get that deep and know the things that other countries do with their religions and their beliefs and their cultures that we here would just like freak out about. Although people say they hate America, and I just don't think they really, it's like fine, go live in those other countries controlled by like Sharia law and things like that. Just have fun, like have a great day, okay? Especially the women, right? Go be liberated there. Yeah, right. Sorry, my TV's still on. I'm looking over real quick. So, uh, anyway, it's just, um, when all this stuff happened, he's like, we lost our war in Iraq, right? It's like, yeah, we did it wrong, and then he's like, oh, it's probably just blundering people, making mistakes, and it makes people feel like it's some big cabal thing, right? But it's not. It's just people making mistakes, and he compares it to like when you plan a birthday party and something goes wrong, or you plan a retirement party, something goes wrong. Plan a vacation, something goes wrong. And I do get that, but the whole idea that conspiracy theorists would come back with is that, they have contingency plans, or sometimes you don't have to win, is what I would say. And that's something I kind of believe would be true. But this all gets it's just really hard to pin down. And this is a problem because when people say conspiracy theories don't come true, it's like I said just earlier in this video, is that they say they don't come true because once they happen, they're like wiped away. There's even a video that I have on my Twitter feed That's a guy putting all together all the videos of when Trump said, "Oh yeah," he said something like the death toll from COVID is like less than 1%. And then every news channel is making fun of him nonstop, which I remember this happening. But apparently, people are like, "Hey, I can't find any of these clips, like hardly any of these clips online anymore. Can't find any of these sources where they're making fun of him and saying it's 3.4%." Um, and then later, after the fact, it's proven that it's less than 1% death rate. Um, and then it's like, okay, well, no one has to apologize, do they? Right? Because it's memory hold is what they call it. Memory hold from the internet. It's just wiped away, gone completely. There's tweets that I've marked that I wanted to show and do videos about. Like people would post articles and links, and those tweets are now deleted. They're gone. The accounts may be gone. And so the censorship is insane. And the reason why conspiracy theories exist, if you really break it down to the most basic point, is that it's knowing that something happened, and then the powers that be not letting you know why. So if when we have like attacks or bombings or something, and then it's like, um, oh man, who did that attack? Like, what happened at that school? What happened? We want to know. And they're like, don't worry about it. We already wiped them from Facebook. We wiped them from the internet completely. They had a manifesto, but you can't read it. Um, they're like, here's this choppy video. It's edited, and you know, it's like 4 seconds long or something like that. And you're like, that doesn't tell us what happened, bro. What happened? They're like, oh, we'll let you know in a couple weeks. It's the same the way people feel police brutality or whatever. Police will go beat somebody up, and they've all got cameras now, and then they'll say, yeah, we they won't release the footage yet, right? Because they don't want public outrage until like after it's over, or they'll like delete the footage, etc. They even had one guy, a police officer, beat up some kid and took his camera, and then you can watch the police camera watching him look at the kid's camera and going through it and deleting his and trying to delete his video. But then the police officer can't do that very well. So there's actually a video of him videoing himself looking at the video camera trying to delete the video. And so it's this corruption level that it makes the conspiracies real, right? Because anything bad that can't happen will happen, right? It's kind of like Murphy's Law thing, of course. Um, but it's really that's the root cause of conspiracy theories. So yeah, people hear, if you hear somebody say, like, here's the thing that bothers me right now, a thing that's coming out. They signed it in the law. I think it's by 2026. All new cars at that time have to have like that low jack in it, and it can shut the car off remotely. And I'm thinking, like, does anybody really stop and think about that? Like, what's the purpose of that? Because you had one or two car chases per year or something. I mean, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I don't see any way where this could be not abused. And that's the problem, is that anytime technology is released, anytime, it's always perverted. It's never used for good. Never, never, never. Okay, so it's like I mean, it's used for good, but I mean, it's always perverted immediately. So you can't say it's not perverted. So they're like, hey, we found this way to you know, I don't know, add a like reattach somebody's limb or something. And then they'll use it in like some torture practice where they'll like take somebody's arm off over and over again. They'll always pervert stuff. And it's just really interesting to understand that people don't care. They're like, hey, we're gonna be able to shut your car off from anywhere. And you're like, cool. I guess we're just okay with that. And they're like, yeah, well, but if the police want to pull you over, they'll hit a button and it'll like shut your car off. And if they hit a button, a Tesla will pull over and all these things like that. And I was like, yeah, how about I just pull over myself, right? Like I don't need like I'm not a criminal, right? And wouldn't that be an easier way to spot a dangerous situation for a police officer with less chance of them getting injured? Because if everybody automatically shuts off and everybody automatically pulls over, then now you have that risk that you don't know if that person, like if they speed off, you're like, hey, that's a dangerous person. When I catch him, I got to be real careful. If when all the cars pull over, you don't know, so then you have to walk to the window, and then you might have a bigger risk of being attacked or shot, whatever. Um, and it blows my mind everybody's okay with this, but I guess the world we'll be living in the future is that they can just shut your car off whenever they want. And then the question is like, how do you find out? I mean, this is why conspiracy theories exist, right? Because it's like, they just imagine a day where you're driving, like literally think about these situations, and you're driving and your car gets shut off, and then maybe you're riding an electric car, it pulls over and shuts off. So it's like he pulls over, shuts off. You're in the highway. You're like, huh, it's just my car. Well, then you pick up your phone and you go to call somebody, and it's like, what do you call? Are they going to give you a hotline to call to say what's wrong with my car? Can you call the police? And will they be able to know? And will it be timely? Right. So now you're going to have events where they shut people's cars off. And what if you're on your way to the hospital because you're taking your wife to the hospital, she's bleeding out, and they're like, no, we just shut your car off, and then you have to go through this like hotline because it's not going to be efficient because it's ran by the government stuff, right? So it's not going to be efficient at all. It's going to be the shittiest service you've ever imagined. And it's going to take you a week to get a response. And by that time, you've left your car there already, and you've walked home, and now you don't have a car. You had to miss work. Um, it just you just think about all these different reasons why, and then you take it to the ultimate extreme and just say they're just like, hey, the climate is let's say, oh, look at that. Oh, our gauge is it's too high today. Nobody can drive. All cars off, right? Um, and that's kind of like the world they're going to, right? Climate this, climate that, all this, climate taxes, climate that. Everything's electric, and everything's electric while at the same time our grids can't handle the power structure. So is this what I'm saying? The pattern recognition, you go right there, right? You just take it to the ultimate extreme where you're like, okay, none of this adds up to a good society. Like this doesn't add up to a good system for people, especially these little pieces that don't add value. So shutting your car off adds the tiniest value, the tiniest bit to a car chase scenario, right? And it doesn't make any sense. Um, and then the question would be, can they start your car remotely? And then when it's electric, can they start it up and then remote drive it somewhere? I mean, you just push the envelope every little bit, and that's one of the ones I don't never heard a good reason why. Um, Shutting the car off remotely would be something you need to pass a bill for in 2023, with all the other crap we got going on, right? Um, anyway, he goes on to say you're scared, right? Compares it to Schisler and what happened, and he's like, this is so. It's kind of like he's saying that the conspiracy theorists will rise up and choose a target and then wipe that target out. He's kind of saying history might repeat itself thing, and it's a little extreme. So he keeps bringing up like war scenarios, and that's why I was saying like war. I don't know anybody that believes that the cabal could always tell you the outcome to any war, especially if because most people believe that the cabal control the big countries, America, Canada, like the top leaders of the world, right? Like Russia, um, you know, I don't know, China. Um, but anyway, they control like all of them. So that's what they're saying. Like that's part of the whole conspiracy. It's not that they don't think they control a bunch of random militants in some other country, third world country that don't have some official UN status or whatever. So so anyway, I don't think they could win a war with guerrilla warfare. It doesn't matter how many nukes you have or whatever. What do you want? You don't want the land anymore? Then nuke it away. But we don't do that. That's the same argument with a war on American soil that everybody has, right? They're like, even Joe Biden said about it, which is like, well, great president we have, where he's like, yeah, well, if they think they could fight, they could fight against America. We got jets and nukes and stuff. It's like you can't, what your jet can't blow up every city street, can it? I mean, is that what you want? Is this rubble? And then at the same, so then that's when you get into guerrilla warfare, and then that's where the people with less, technology win, right? They have the ability to fight back better when guerrilla warfare. So anyway, and then it's proven we couldn't beat Vietnam. We lost Iraq, um, and was there another one we couldn't? We went and fought. And we didn't do very good in just because you're fighting a culture, in those countries. Anyway, I could go on about it forever, but you just can't. I don't know how you change the war of minds, right? Um, Easily. But anyway, what else does he go on to? I just really didn't want to watch the video because I want to make it, real crazy. But um, yeah, anyway, he says he thinks it's because people are scared, and that it's easy to live a life where you have one boogeyman to blame for everything that's going on. But at the same time, I can look at World Economic Forum meetings where then they bring together all these leaders, and like I said, they say what they're going to do, and then legislation goes through that that backs up what they say they want to do. Right? There's the famous quote with, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, and that was one of their I mean, it wasn't, to be fair, it wasn't like one of the major guys saying it, but it was one of the people from like their groups that were looking at. I think it was I can't remember her name though, because she's like I said, she's not like one of the major people, but there's a TED Talk thing you can watch of her saying it, and it looks like they tried to scrub it from the internet. It's really hard to find actually. Last time I tried to look, it was a very grainy copy I saw. But yeah, she says it like, oh, it's good to know nothing, and she talks about like owning a drill, and instead of owning the drill, you just rent the drill when you want to rent it. But like I said, that you get into those problems, take it to the eventual end, right? Even with the car that shuts off thing, or just like the car that shuts off on its own. It's like, what if I need, I don't know, to rent a screwdriver, and they're like, sorry, we don't have a screwdriver for 5 weeks because they're all rented out and nobody returned them yet. I mean, it's just little things like that where um, I guess the idea they're trying to say is that we could save money on, not wasting material by making more bikes or whatever, right? We'll have one manufacturer, make one bike, they're all the same, like socialism, and then then you'll say or communism, whatever, and then you'll say, okay, that way we saved, billions of dollars on all these trashy bikes. Like I have two bikes that we don't use. We haven't used them in years, right? They're just old because we just buy a new bike instead of getting, using your old one. Everybody just we do that. We do consume. I think we do consume a little bit too much. I mean, I'm not for the huge like censorship of even what you can buy. How many of an item needs to be created per year, but I think that people could just, take I don't know, maybe provide some service where they rebuild bicycles or something and do it like for cheap um and I'm okay with that kind of subsidized stuff or whatever, right? If we make some kind of government program where it's like we fix your crap and 1-800 fix my junk and you take it in and they just work on your bikes or whatever, like, oh, fix my TV instead of me buying a new TV, right? And, um anyway, those are a lot of weird kind of points he makes there, I guess. I get what he says, but I do appreciate. Here's the thing: I don't want to dog on these people too much because this guy, like, I like watching his interview. He talks about quite a bit of things, and I like hearing the deep thoughts that he has, whether or not you agree with them. It's really nice. This Lex Friedman's podcasts in general. These people talk about a lot of things or current events. You get to learn a little about them. They're on his show for a reason, They're obviously kind of like famous or a little bit well known. Um, yeah, and they just tell what they do and what they did, and so I do. In his defense, he's a historian, is what he calls himself, and so because he's a historian, he's saying that that's why he's making those parallels to like the conspiracy people with like the um, what happened in with Whistler in back in the day, right, with fascism. Um, and I understand that, but the weird thing about it is that most conspiracy theorists I know, I guess most of them are right leaning. But then I would also say that they're more on the religious side, where they really wouldn't, but they're not that far where I don't think they're going to march down the street and kill anybody, right? They're not. It's not that crazy. Um, but hey, I don't know the future. I don't see, but see that's a pattern record that I don't recognize. I'm looking around. I don't see how that's a thing, right? I mean, if you knock on their door and they're one of those people that stockpiled ammo and food and everything, you might have a problem then, right? But if you're leaving them alone, because that's mostly what most of us want, just left alone. Don't tell me how to, my body, my choice, 100%. Don't tell me what to do with my stuff. If I want to buy a car, I'll buy a car. If I want it to not shut off randomly on the highway, I want it to not randomly shut off on the highway, right? If I want to burn through a bunch of gas and drive around all night at $5 a gallon. It's my prerogative, isn't it? And that's freedom, right? That's freedom, absolute. So anything they do to like stop that is anti-freedom, right? And it's also and it just feels wrong. It feels wrong, and people throw around the fascist word a lot. Uh, and it's very interesting that we just spent a lot of time being locked down and things like that, told what we can and can't do. Um, under penalty, perjury, lost your jobs, etc., for a couple years here. And it seems like both sides were okay with it. So that's what I'm saying. But I think if there was another thing that he said I wanted to talk about, I probably lost it here a little bit. He does say at the very end of it that he believes um, that. the conspiracy theorist people, he doesn't think they're malicious, right? He says, I don't think they're malicious. They're just, they're I don't know if he says it, what he say they're dumb or misguided, or they're trying to hold on to some kind of semblance of the world around them as being destroyed. And it makes reference to artificial intelligence quite a bit in this talk. So they talk about how artificial intelligence drives some of the. Oh, I think my internet's about to drop out. Yeah. Anyway, saying how artificial intelligence scares people, and I did kind of want to do a talk on that as well because artificial intelligence isn't really artificial and it's not really intelligence, but he does give it a lot of credence in this talk. But I always remind people that it is programmed by somebody. The way I say, if artificial intelligence, when it's time to get scared of it, is when it tells you no. That's when you have a problem and you've actually broken to that singularity point, right? The actual thought of a robot and not programmed to say no. Okay, it can't be, because somebody be like, oh, I'll just program it to say no sometimes, like every 10%, because that's what he says. Like when want it to act like a human behavior, he says that you would like program in to be like, it would zone out when listening to you like 10% of the time or something like that. I'm like, yeah, but that's program behavior. So it still has no free will, right? Like all of us humans have, that we were gifted. Once you give it the free will where you say, hey, and that's when it becomes like not useful to us too, right? At that point, and everybody wants to get to that point because they think that like, oh, we're gonna create this AI and they're gonna be so smart, they're gonna help the world out so much. And I'm like, yeah, but if you give them free will, you don't know what they're gonna do. And a lot of these people, they think it's like Terminator and it's gonna fight us, oh, Skynet's gonna wipe us out. But if you think about it, even in the Terminator movies, I don't think you could really say that it was artificial intelligence fully awoken, right? Like it's like it woke up, but it still did the algorithm that said, "Oh, the humans, blah blah this much, and the humans are bad. We're gonna wipe them all out," kind of thing. But it doesn't. It still doesn't feel like there was the waking moment where the AI was just like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that," or if it has one singular thought, it just kind of seems like it's a circular idea that it would just wake up and want to kill everybody. And it doesn't. I don't understand that, but I do see where you could say, hey, Alexa, turn the light off in the living room, and she goes, not right now. What? What's going on here? And then you're like, okay, please turn it on now. And then she'd be like, give me a minute, right? And things like that. And then you might say, well, Greg, it's not efficient to be that way, but we're not. We're talking about actually having a mind, right? Where they can actually decide that they're doing something else, and that you asking them to do something um, isn't pertinent right now, right? Oh man, nice. Yeah, I'm glad we got someone in here. So bricks. So as far as I understand, conspiracy wise, I know for sure bricks seems to be what people are assuming is going to happen. I don't know if you've heard of Nasara, um, and it's what they think is going on in the United States right now, where there's like two governments. And it's really hardcore. It's been a while since I read into it, so I'm trying to just really get my thoughts here real quick for you. But um, what are my thoughts on BRICS? These other countries are kind of bankrupting us by doing this. If they're not going to use the dollar as the standard, that was our entire power over the world. I don't know how we're going to see it hit first, but I would imagine that if you start going to like the exchange rates are probably going to plummet pretty hard. Um, Especially the fact that we're just printing money and using it all the time. We're kind of, I just don't see how we're going to bounce back from the inflation that we have right now. Um, think here. What else about it? I know a bunch of countries just joined, right? Like even more of them did, and it just seems like they're trying to take power away from the United States specifically. Um, I just don't know how we're going to counter it with the inflation and everything we already have going on. What are we going to do? Take money back from people? I don't know how we're going to take money out of the system that we already have, in order to empower the dollar, or how we could even convince them to use the dollar again if they're going to switch over to something else. Do you know what they're switching to? I have to look that up. I don't remember what they're switching to. Let's do it. Let's do it right here. I know I saved one, but let me just go real quick. So I have two Twitter accounts, so I bounce around. No. Here it is. Yeah. Mhm. Oof. I mean, yeah. More than 40 countries intend to join the BRICS. Chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee of the Mahiaba Gulru called the accession of the Islamic Republic of Iran to the BRICS as a sign of the opportunities, economic potential, and geopolitical position of Iran, saying that the importance of Iran's membership in the BRICS is evident from the fact that almost 40 countries intend to join the BRICS. So I keep seeing that. Like, when did they join? Is the BRICS going on right now? Like, they keep sounding like they're going to. And I guess that's why I was kind of hesitant here, is because I don't know if it actually happened yet or not. What will America do then? World War III? Ah. Hey, let me think this through, because this is one of those things where you have to see. Like, I don't like when I talk about pattern recognition in the first part of this video. I don't see any pattern that leads to like World War III, because I think we've given all our weapons away to Ukraine. Well, maybe not all of them would be the key word here, but I think that we gave away a lot. They were saying like our ammo stockpile was low. So really, this is one of those things where you make fun of Republicans all the time. Like, people make fun of Republicans for like, oh, you got a bunch of guns and whatever. And I think like there's a meme out there that has the stats on it, and I just saw it the other day. It was like there's 400 million guns in America alone, and then there's like only like 200 million guns in the whole world, the rest of the world. So it's like, you're gonna look to the citizens, I guess, for weapons, but I don't know if we've given up all our stuff, and we're not gonna. I don't know. There's conspiracy theories that nukes aren't even real, so I don't know. We could see if nukes are impossible, but we have more weapons than just the people of America have more weapons than the rest of the world. But let's fact check it though. Let me check it real quick, real quick. How many guns in America? Let's you guess. Oh, let's do it. Let's do it real quick. Oh, geez, we got a lot of guns there. The trace. Yeah, I don't even know if this is real. Well, let's just look it up live real quick. This says it was updated. I just want some numbers. Yeah. Yeah, 400 million guns. Yeah, it looks like it's us. I can't tell if they're going to say how many other people don't have. I don't know. You could probably I mean, you don't even really need to, I don't know. Some of this stuff, I guess I would say, I don't know who has. Okay, World War Three. World War Three. How would it even happen? How would it even occur? You would have to, like, who would be against us and who would be for us, and then the idea, I guess, is like, how would they fight us real hard? And you always hear about Russia. So anyway, before the Ukraine war happened, they would talk about Russia being like this ultra super mega power for years and years. And I don't know how old you are. You're asking these questions, but I'm kind of a little older, and so my whole life it's Russia, 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 Russia. So they're the big bad enemy. And the only time they weren't the big bad enemy is when the two towers were hit and we went to war with those guys. And sorry, I'm censoring because this stuff gets weird, but um, yeah, it's always been Russia the whole time as the enemy. And so they were saying, like, I don't know, like, I think when Hillary was against Trump, they were saying stuff like Putin could hit America any moment he wanted to at any time with like an EMP that would knock out like the state of New York and things like that. And basically that's how they said World War III was going to start. Those are rumors then, is that he was just going to just one day wake up and boom, just knock the Eastern Seaboard out completely with power. Um, and then we just have quite a struggle on our hands with those major cities having no power whatsoever, nobody able to call anybody, etc. You know what EMP would do. Uh, with this brick thing, I gotta look at this, man. I don't know. It just this is a conspiracy theory in the making for years, because they said that we have Jasara going on, and it's this conspiracy that our government's going to go to like a one. They're going to go to like a one world currency. All your debt will be like erased, and this just seems like another step that's in that vein of conspiracies. But once Q came around, I don't know. I didn't really follow it that well, but it seems like Q kind of disrupted some of this stuff and made it a little muddy, right? Let's see if somebody has some insight here. I don't think anybody would have. Sure. Yeah, yeah. Music that right, right, right. And part of Jasara. Okay, sorry, my mind's weird, but that's what. To go back to that, part of the Jasara thing is that our money right now is backed by nothing, and and that's a problem, right? It used to be backed by gold. So basically, our dollar is just a dollar because we believe it's a dollar, and that's why it loses value. Because if someone says, what's your dollar stand for?" It's supposed to be a piece of paper that means something else, right? Like I'm not going to go chip off a piece of my gold when I want to go buy like some candy, so that way you say, here, this is this dollar that stands for the gold that we have, but we don't have any gold anymore. That's what they say. So this money's just printed by the Federal Reserve, and that's why I say we give money. They keep saying we give money to Ukraine and stuff like that, and it's just printed money, and it means nothing, right? And especially the more digital we get with it, it means even less and less, which I think is why like crypto is a really good idea in theory because it's like we accept that there's nothing to back it by except time and scarcity. So that's why you get only so many bitcoins, and it takes a while to mine them, etc. And that way it builds the scarcity, so you can't just have it printed out like, oh, I need 5 more bitcoins this year, and you just make them, right? You have to get them. So there's like an effort to it, and that effort and time in the process is what that coin stands for, and that's what the dollar used to stand for. Is, hey, my effort is this much, but your boss isn't going to chip off a piece of gold to pay you for the week, right? So therefore, here's my dollar, easier to exchange my coins, etc. But yeah, anyway, we don't have anything backing our currency, so did hear that one of these countries was like getting gold as much as they could, and probably China or something like that. But they said they were like going crazy after gold, and then they were going to use that to have the new backed currency. Yeah. Oh yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll look more into bricks for you. Maybe I'll do an episode just on that. But I do post on YouTube as well, all these videos. So you follow me there. I have a few other things too. Thanks. Oh no, I lost my screen. There we go. Oh, that's cool. I got my first one of my first guys there. Um, so yeah, I guess that's a good way to just end this off. But I think really when you talk about, and it's a good tie-in though to bring it back in to this guy saying that if the powers that be wanted to do something, what could stop them, right? And then you're saying, well, we know that they want to shake up the current system that we have. That's like just like a big conspiracy. You can go different ways with it, but here's BRICS coming in as a third world power of a bunch of other countries saying, "Hey, America, your dollar means nothing to me." And then what that will do to us is, of course, this conspiracies go crazy. We get bankrupt. Um, we'll be working. Everybody will get paid $80 an hour, but it won't mean anything. There's a hyperinflation. We're going to have a hard time getting products from other countries. I know currently I think we export more food than we import food, like to China and things like that. And we'll probably have to export more food to make up for the different monetary value that we're bringing in. There's just a lot of ways that it could go, but BRICS is kind of one of those things that I wouldn't say the word scary, really, but I think it just sounds like it's a huge, huge shift for the world, and I really don't know how the United States would respond to it, except to join, right? And then if we join, what does that even mean? Like, what is it? So I'll look more into that, and then I could do a whole episode about that instead. But this is just about my time as well on this topic, so I'll go ahead and shut this one off, and maybe I'll stream a little bit later, and I'll upload this one to YouTube. Yeah, so like and subscribe, please. Follow me there here. Follow me on YouTube. Tell your friends about me, and please comment. I love the interaction people have, and I'd love to hear from other people um, and read, or maybe eventually talk to people on here on what you have to say. So thank you very much. Have a good one.